How do I explain this in a simple way? I wanted to try and make a way to make 4horsemen easy to understand. So let's try and explain it all at once, and then let's see how I make it into bite-sized chunks at the end. Okay. Basically, everyone's gonna get ready. We're gonna get all our buffs. We're gonna do pull timer, right? The pull timer will start. It'll be something like this, right? And then as soon as it hits 0, everyone runs in at the same time. The only thing that really matters is that we have the same starting position. So we enter combat at the same time. Warriors, when you get here, tanks, whatever you are, if you're a paladin, you'll use exorcism and you're given target to try and pick it up, right? If you are a warrior, you can do blood loss to try and get some threat, at least get on the table, right? You try and use your bloodthirst or your shield slam or whatever you're using, and then you will be using your white attacks, of course. And as soon as you pick something up, you're just gonna be jumping like this, like with you just jumping like this. That's all you're doing, right? You're making sure that okay, I will explain why in a bit, but basically make sure that you're getting here as fast as possible, right? If you're tanking Thane, you can stand somewhere like here, right? Have Thane on this spot, and then have yourself on this spot. This would be Thane over here. And DPS, you're standing, of course, behind the boss, but as close as you can be. So nice and clumped like this, right? The only ones who are going to be standing out is going to be Hunters. Hunters can stand a little back so they can shoot. When the meteor is coming down, then they're going to stack up. But this will mainly focus on the tanks first, and then I will focus on the DPS afterwards. So as a tank, you make sure you do your thing. Make sure to call out to make everyone wait when the third mark hits, right? Then you wait for the meteor, the guy will come, right? What you can do, since everyone's running out and no one's gonna be with you, right? As soon as you do the swap, you can turn around, making it easier for the other guy to intervene to you. So you give him that little bit of, so he doesn't have to close as much of a gap, and you're closer to exit getting out, right? Does the thing work? The other guy will taunt it, he'll put it back in position, and as soon as you know that your threat table has changed and he's now on top of you, you will just run out, you run to the safe zone. This safe zone starts somewhere around here, but don't always count on it, right? It's something like this to both sides. But to be safe, always just stay in this spot here, right? Like if you're getting marks in this spot, then the tanks are fucking up, but this is where you should be considered safe. Okay, then so you have your 3 marks where you're staying on Thane, then you have 3 marks in the safe zone. You're probably gonna be running out and getting a 4th mark on the way out. That's fine, it doesn't really change anything. Just keep that in mind that if you don't have more than 3000 health, that you need to use the shadow protection pod. Okay, mark 6 happens, you run in, you pick up the guy, you're over here. This is the reason you need fire protection, by the way. I can see we forgot a rune. Anyways, you need to have it. So you're gonna be tanking somewhere like here. This is gonna be you, this is gonna be the boss, and this is gonna be the DPS. Right, again, you tank like this. Ranged DPS can stand at max range if they want to. And when I get to the DPS, I'll also be talking about something else. But anyways, so this is how it's gonna be done. You pick the guy up. You make sure you turn him away from the raid. Everything is happy and dandy, and then Mark 9 happens. And by Mark 9, then you're gonna be tapped out again, so the other guy's gonna pick it up. Again, you can just turn him, right? Just make sure you never turn your back to Mograine, he will fuck you up. And then you run out, you do the swap. This is your Mark 9, so you're gonna be staying here. And as soon as Mark 12 starts, then you're back in your original positions. We'll be back on Thane, right? This is if you're attacking in the front. Okay. These are all the positions for the tanks in the front, and in general, these are normally people I pick that I'm pretty comfortable with, and they tend to not fuck things up. Now we come to all the wannabe tanks. Those are the people in the back, right? So you do the same thing. You pick your mark up, and here you're gonna be picking up Lady B. Then you just basically jump, the same thing again, right? I'll explain this at the end of the video why you're doing it like this. And then you can either end up here, right? But since you're pulling, right? And there's gonna be no marks over here. Just get her over here. Like make this your starting position. Have her like stand here. Have her stand here, and then you stand here. And if you do this, and this is the initial pull. For the rest of the pull, you can have her elsewhere. But if this is the initial pull, that means you can slowly like put down your pulls like this, and the puddles are never going to be a real problem because when the DPS starts coming over, you have already filled all this useless space, so to speak, right? And that will help you a lot. And there's not much else to say. Every time there's a mark coming down, so you'll see the void zone. They'll see the void zone timer. Void zone timer is like 1 second. You just start moving, right? You just start moving. Is it on you? Cool. Then you just keep moving until it's not under you. Is it not on you? If it's not on you, you can just stand still, right? But be in movement. Always be in movement. The same goes for healers. I'll talk about healers in a bit. So you have your mark. Let's say this is where you start, right? So you have Mark 3, you do the change, and again, I would not suggest moving her too much, because you can just wait for the other guy. First of all, the Lady B doesn't hurt you, the tank at all, it's very simple to survive. You have 3 healers, they're fresh off the bat, there's no reason to worry, taking an extra mark is not going to get you killed. Okay, you run back to the safe zone, you stand here, you do your la-di-da, the 6 marks happen, you run over, right? So here is when it becomes interesting, right? So when we are running to Celiac, this is the tank's path. This is where we want the tanks to go, right? This is how our tanks go to Celiac. Okay? And this is where we want the boss. We want the boss to be standing here, and we want the tank to be standing here. And this is not optional. This is how we want it at all times. We technically could have it in the door, but for the sake of making it easy, have it like this. Always like this. Because if he's like this and then you walk up, so I do this mistake myself sometimes when I pick this up. I'm not normally in the back, but sometimes I do this mistake if someone has to pick it over. I taunt from too far away, which means I move Celiac, which is bad. I should run up, be right on top of him, taunt, use my taunt, and then that would not move Celiac, and that also means that the range of Celiac doesn't move at all. That means everyone who is safe is still safe, right? If you, let's imagine you stand here and you taunt, and Celiac takes a step up here, all of a sudden you put all the people healing you from over here in danger, right? If they're not at absolute max range. Anyway, so you tank here, you do your thing. This is a great position to start in, and this is where he can be the whole fight. He should be here for the whole fight. Everyone should always be extra careful. Like Celiac is the 4 horsemen where you're gonna have to treat him with a little extra special care, right? He's the finesse one. He's the one that just has to be done precise. If you do it precise, it's really fucking easy. He's really weak. Does no melee damage. The problem is that beam, right? And coordinating 40 people and that beam is just a shit show. Anyways, take it nice and slow. Try to taunt him on space. Your next 3 marks goes out. You're now at mark 9. You follow the same path out, right? You follow this path out. You want to make sure that you do not beam to the healers over there somewhere, right? So you try to make this path. Then you stay here for 3 marks, and then you go back over to your corner, where you started originally on Lady B, right? And for the other tanks, you can of course figure out that you're doing the same thing. So this is the rotation for the ones in the back. Depending on which ones of these marks where you start, like you can start in the safe zone, you can start on Celiac, or you can start on Lady B. That's if you're in the back. If you're in the front, you can start in the safe zone, you can start on Mograine, or you can start on Thane. That's all there is to it. I think that's all for the tanking. There's a bunch of other things you can do as tanks. You can especially if you're tanking in the back, try and stay around 5,000 threat. You don't need any more threat. No healer is ever gonna be above 2.5k. That's the max amount of threat you're ever gonna be fighting. So as long as you're above 5k, it also means that if you're not using abilities in the back and you're just spamming shield block, or paladin, you're just spamming holy shield or whatnot, it also means that you can use all your abilities, you can focus them all your globals can be focused on defensive, and the other guy, if he doesn't get a taunt off, like right away, like if it resists, he can just simply out-threat you on the next mark. Like mark 4 happens, and you drop from 5k to 2.5k, that's 2 abilities. Like he will catch up immediately. He will be ahead of you immediately. And it's great, it's easy, it makes the swap in the back real fucking smooth. Anyways, enough about tanks. Let's go to the healers. The healers have a extremely easy on this boss fight. There's very little to do, but it is good to know the basics, right? Our healers do not stack. So let's say you are one of the 3 healers who start on Mograine, right? You, sorry, not Mograine, Thane. Then you'll be standing on max range, so 40 yards to the tank. And this is the thing you should be doing at all times. You should start at 40 yards, right? Just stand at 40. Let's see these. Let's say purple is 1, blue is 2, and green is 3. So purple heals, the first mark goes out, purple moves on to the next guy. Same thing goes here. It marks 2, blue moves on to the next guy, and then mark 3, and then green moves on to the next guy, right? So we keep moving one at a time. We all know the rotation. I made a little 3D video at one point, but anyways, here's the idea. What is the really important idea about this guy? Thane does not hit that hard on the tank, so the tank should be at full health at all time, right? But what is going to happen is the DPS is going to take damage. So when you're on Thane, you are kind of splitting your heals. Your big heals on tank, right? Always big heals on tanks. But the DPS, you can definitely heal them up with something. If you don't happen to not be a paladin, have a new and a rejuvenation or whatever, or swiftment or whatever, just something nice, instant. Get it off on one of them. It's beautiful. Leave them with a regrowth, something like that. And make sure the tank is always like your priority. Of course, never drop the tank. If you have to drop a DPS or tank, drop the DPS. But it should not happen. We have 12 healers. You technically can do this fight with 8. I always say it like I have 8 competent healers and then I have 4 idiots. Don't be one of the 4 idiots. But you can keep this up. You top them off. Everyone's happy. There's not much to say about Thane because he's not really heal intensive. The only thing you need to know is that you're not part of the meteor team, so don't take the meteor. Let's say I'm on rotation 1 now, so I'll just be rotating. I'm now gonna run over here. My tank is in the corner, so I've specified before. I'll be healing him. I cast some nice big heals, right? You can cast whatever heal you want, but you always want it to be nice chunky heals. You don't need to save your mana on 4horsemen, especially not for the first rotation. After 18 max, you'll go back to full mana. Like, you're gonna have so much downtime, you're gonna fully recover, even if you're shit geared. Like, on the first rotations, you just want to make sure you always leave the tank top off. You never want to be the guy who drops the tank, right? You don't want to be that idiot who fucks it up for everyone else. So top them off. Here, the same thing as the tanks. If you didn't see the tank bit, but as a healer, if there is like, I don't know, let's make a pull timer to give it a simulation of it, right? So let's say there is, I think it's 12 seconds in between. So let's say this is the void zone. I'm healing, right? I'm healing. Oh shit, it's going out. I'm gonna run. Oh, it didn't drop on me. I'll just go back to healing. But I can heal. If I don't get the heal off at the right time and there's 1 second left, I just move, right? I just move. Just move before, right? You have plenty of time. There's no stress. The guy is not gonna one-shot your tank, so you already topped him off. So yeah, he's gonna take maybe 1 hit where you can't heal immediately after, but it's not gonna kill him. There's no other damage going out, right? The only thing that could happen is he's standing in a void zone, but he's a tank taking 3k damage from the void zone. It's not gonna kill him. It's gonna make him wake up, hopefully, but it's not gonna kill him. Anyways, you do that. Let's say I was on Mark 1 from Thane, right? So I will now be moving on Mark 4 or on healer rotation 1. There will be a healer rotation or a mark depending on which add-on you're using. I think we tend to count either to 3. But I tend to say the marks, like, so some people count to 3 and others say the marks, but we say the marks in general. So we will go like Mark 4, and if I was on from Thane as number 1, and then I'll be here at number 4. And number 4 means I'm moving. I'm now moving over to Celiac. I see a lot of fucking healers doing this. Like, they will move up like this and start standing here. The only thing you're gonna do by that is gonna chain your fucking allies. Like, the way you heal on Celiac is you just do this. Like, you just stand here. You don't need to be any closer, right? And honestly, in the first rotation where there's no one around, you just stand here and heal. Heal, do your thing, right? And the reason you want to stand over here and heal, like in the back here, is because the tank is going to be running out along this wall. And so let's say he's Mark 3. Let's say Mark 3 happens, the tank's running out here, right? And the healer who's supposed to run on Mark 3 is also running out. They're going to cross over, but they're just going to chain to each other. And one chain is like, I think it's an extra 500 damage, so it's not a big deal. The healer will not die, the tank will not die, everyone's happy. So that's like the worst that will happen. But just make sure you don't chain the whole group. Like, don't stand up here, stand all the way back here, attack ceiling from here. That's also why he needs to be in a specific spot, right? Like, if he's touching the wall, you're as far away as possible, and it's not gonna hurt you. So yeah, so I went from over here, I'm number 1, I'm Mark 1, and over here I'm Mark 4. And then I will be moving 3 marks later, right? So there's 2 ways of doing this. Either you can count it like 1, 4, 7, 10, and so on, right? Or you can do this, and you can do like, okay, I take mark 1, I take 1 mark, I think, because that's my initial mark, and then for every other horseman, I take 3 marks. That's generally how I tend to do it in my head. So I know I'm starting on 1, so I just remember my starting number. That's all I remember. Okay, I was number 1, cool. Over here, I'm gonna take 3 marks, and then I'm gonna move on mark 3, 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 and mark 3, and mark 3, and mark 3, right? That makes it really fucking easy, and you can just check your debuffs, right? If you have too many of some debuffs, you either actively decided to stay, or you mess something up. Anyways. And even if it looks real bleak, like, of course try to heal up if you can and then run over. But remember, the next guy over is counting on you moving. So if you think you have to stay here to heal extra, it's not your fucking job. Like, you're tacking out, right? Like, you did your work, you hit my Mark 3, it's your time to run. It's the next guy's fucking problem if he's about to drop. Of course, if you can't drop a heal, an instant heal, a shield, a renew, whatever it is, that's cool, but it's not your job because the next guy could be the one where someone is moving already because he's tacking out, right? And then you should have been the one to be in to heal. So please just keep moving. Don't ever feel like you have to stay. If you are hit by Mark 3 and that tank dies, that is not your problem anymore. Okay. So yeah, Celiac, you just have to stay out. And when we come to the other part, this is the way that he... So let's say the 2 in front of that. This is the rotation for the healers and the DPS, right? This is how we move in. This is how we move into Celiac. A nice big arc, very easy to avoid, right? Like that. And then you can imagine the other road over here, right? So the green is the healer slash DPS rotation. And the same goes, and the tank is the purple one, right? So those are the 2 paths we take in, and those are the 2 places we stop, right? They should never really come too close to each other. Okay. For healing Mograine, there's nothing else to say. Max rank heals, the bastard hits like a fucking train, and the reason he hits like a train is because if you do not parry or you do not disarm him, he will basically be hitting like Ragnaros, meaning he will apply a burning debuff to your target that does 4,800 damage with his sword. I think it's a 20% chance to proc, right? So if he's not disarmed, or you are not parrying or dodging it, or being missed, it will apply it has a 20% of applying the debuff, and the debuff also does some fire damage on the initial proc, including Mokrane just already hits like a fucking truck with physical damage, so yeah, this is the healer test, right? This is the one where healing actually is required to be high. The other ones you can get away with not going all out, but here it's only max rank heals, and it's basically all the time. Okay, and then again on this, I would be moving on Mark 10, and I would be back on Thane, and then that would have been a full rotation, and then we just keep doing that until we end, right? You do not need to worry about healing DPS in there at all. That's not your problem. Only here. This is the only place you're healing DPS. If you're running by someone, you can drop a renew on the way. Sure, feel free to it, but just focus on your one task. Okay, I guess the last bit to do is the DPS, right? So DPS, I don't know how to fucking put this, but you are the bunch that I assume to be the dumbest, right? My ex-wife put it like this. She called them dum personstyrer, basically means stupid person in charge, like in control, the driver. You are going to be given a mark. That's as much as I am willing to do to you guys, so I give you a mark. You follow said mark around. It'll be one on the fucking tanks. You follow them. You stick into the rotation. Let's say you are following Star, right? So you're following Star, and that is happens to be starting on. For us, it always starts on Thane. You'll be standing behind the boss. I'll be standing in front of it. You'll be DPSing them. If you're a warrior, you can disarm. That's always nice. Disarms are nice. Demo shouts, all that good stuff. Other than that, there's not much else to say in this boss. The only thing you need to know is that you're staying for the meteor. Even when Mark 3 has gone out, you're waiting for the last meteor. When you see the tank relief has come, that would mean the other Mark. In this case, it would be Diamond. When Diamond has come in and taken his spot, then he will take over. As soon as he's picked it up, right? As soon as that meteor hits and he's here, like as soon as your relief team has arrived, you can all move out. The only one who's doing anything special as DPS on this is the hunters, right? They will basically let's do it again, right? So we have tank, we have boss, and we have DPS. And the hunter might be standing here. He's shooting. 3 seconds until meteor. He runs into melee. He does a raptor strike or whatever. The meteor lands and he runs back out and starts shooting, right? That's all you have to do as a hunter, right? And keep your pet on Thane at all times. But this is basically the only class that has to do anything special on this boss. Cool. We waited for the meteor. We got hit by the meteor. You're too low health. Just use a fire protection pod. Use a shadow protection pod. Are you below 3k health? Is your maximum health pool below 3k? Are you about to take a fourth mark? Shadow protection pod. That will save you. Right. Then you wait here. 6 marks. You're just following your star. Star will know what to do, right? And they will go in. They'll pick up the next target. Again, watch your threat. That's really all you have to do. Attack the boss from whatever range you can. Yada yada yada. Same thing as before. Disarm. DPS in whatever manner that you can. And help out, of course. Demo shout is nice. Thunderclap is too if the tank doesn't have Thunder Fury, you know, all the stuff. And then after the boss is in front of that, so let's say that this is Mark, what would be realistic? Maybe Mark 15, something like that. Let's say Mark 15, 18, right? The boss is in front of both that. Actually, I want to mention one thing more. Let's go back. So we are Mark 9. Yeah, we're about to get hit by Mark 9, so we're running out. This was Mark 6, we're Mark 9 now. We're running out. And we're back. Let's go here. And now let's go forward in time, right? Let's say Thane is at 15%. Both his shield wall has been popped. He pops one at 50%, he pops one at 20%. Both his shield walls are gone. And you don't have any marks. You don't need to wait for another mark to like go in. You can just all pile onto him because 15% with no shield wall up, we can all kill that. It doesn't matter how many people pile onto him. All DPSs can pile onto that if they don't have any marks, right? So we're just gonna kill him. So we're gonna call for Thane to die. We all go in, we kill Thane. Mograine is probably already died because it's just as lower health than Thane does. Okay, they're both dead. Now you can start DPSing. Do you feel comfortable DPSing with your class? Are you and you are ranged and you know what you're doing? Go to Celiac. Do you have no fucking clue what you're doing? Are you new here? Is it your first 4horsemen kill? Play it safe. Go over to Lady B, right? Attack Lady B, you can, if you're melee, you can just go behind it like everything else. The only thing you have to do is remember, just like the healers, just like the tanks, keep moving. When the timer is about 1 second off the void zone, you probably want to be moving, right? In case it drops on you. Especially if you're standing next to someone else, because then it doesn't just have to drop on you, it can also drop on the guy next to you. Okay, you do your thing, you get your 3 marks or 4 marks, however many marks you think you can handle, and then you move out, right? And then you move to the safe zone and you wait. There's one thing to be said about getting 3 marks here is go for 3 marks, because in case one of the tanks fucks up and you're standing in the safe zone and it's the 5th mark that would be your next, right? So you survived 4 marks and then the tank fucks up and you get your 5th mark, that might actually kill you, depending on how much health you have. With that note, you can also be standing back here, right? Because Mark 1 does 0 damage and Mark 2 does 250. So, and these horsemen are sure as fuck not gonna move, right? They're dead, so they will not be moving. So you can just take the marks back here. You can jump around, teabag the guy who fucked up on Meteor, like live your best life. As soon as you are ready to go in on one of these guys again, you can go in. But the rest of the time you can spend in the back of the room. Like you can if you understand how the mechanic works, you can just have fun with it. Like I don't mind seeing someone run in the back. I just assume they know what they're doing, right? Again, DPS. So we sometimes call a single melee DPS in with the tanks, but don't do that. Like normally just don't go over here as melee. Let the range do it, and the range DPS goes the same path as before, right? So they will be going this way, standing on top of all the healers. Make sure they're standing in max range. Hunters has an easy time, right? 42 yards. Mages have an easy time, right? Same, they can basically be a max range. Warlocks a little closer, but again, Warlocks, just max range Shadow Ball. You don't need to go out to put a curse or whatever. You can just stay in max range. Watch your threat, stay at max range. Celiac is a complete walk in the park. It doesn't really do anything if you don't fuck up the distance, so after watching this, hopefully you know that as long as you're at your max casting range, you're completely fine, right? Never go too close, like inch forward, right? Inch forward and back until you find it. And don't ever inch back when, so let's say this is the holy light timer, right? Here is fine, right? Here we can like inch, okay, this is probably my max spot, right? Cool. You find your max range and then you start attacking. Don't inch forward as it's about to be cast. Don't be that clown. Don't be that fucker who like, whoops, right? Just wait. Time the things. Use all the information you have and yeah, take it slow. Horseman is not a race. It's just about getting it done in the first attempt, right? Yeah, there's not much else to say for DPS. I'm probably forgetting a million things, but I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of people who don't understand this fight, and there's so many little nuanced things you can learn. But the most important thing is to understand where you can stand safely and where you can't stand. And that you learn by doing the max. You find out that the max range of the 4 horsemen, and you find your own casting max range. What is safe for you, right? We say 35 yards for the beam, and we say, and it's 65 yards for the mark. All of these you don't really need to know. All you need to know is that you can never be closer than 35 yards to Celiac. Every other boss you can almost not fuck up on unless you're not stacking a Thane, right? If you end up dying to a Void Zone, at least you're just you dying to a Void Zone, right? The problem with Thane is if you die on Thane in the early rotations, you are now applying more damage to everyone else, right? You are actively making it harder for everyone else to carry your stupid ass. Same thing with Celiac. If you get beamed, you're probably not gonna die. But you sure as fuck gonna kill the 4th guy in the chain, right? So if you don't know what you're doing, just stay in the safe zone for the second part. If you know what you're doing, then do it nice and slow, right? It's also why I try to make these videos. I could put a million things on the screen to help you out, but in reality, I don't think it's gonna help half as much out as seeing me walk around the room and telling you where to stand. Anyways, I think this should be enough for now, right? So, yeah. Do what I've been speaking about for the last, I don't know, 25 minutes, and hopefully we'll be able to kill horsemen in first try every single time. Goodbye.